To this month's CPD Standards monthly webinar. A huge warm welcome to you all as you all filter in from the waiting room, and a real pleasure and an honour to have your time this morning. So good morning to all of you. For those of you that haven't met me before, my name's Amanda Rosewarne, and I am one of the co-founders of the CPD Standards Office. And it's wonderful to meet you all here today and look at building as a community our own skills, our own knowledge and our own competence. We run these webinars once a month to really be able to help you as our community to undertake, to a certain extent, your own professional development and looking at other skills and areas that you can grow and develop within. So a big warm welcome to all of you, and I know that we've got more and more people to join over the next few minutes. Please use the chat today to introduce yourselves, tell us from where you're dialing in from. By all means, say hello to each other. If you have any questions or comments as the session goes through, then please put those in and we'll be having a good Q&A session towards the end. If you've got any questions at all with regards to assessment or your membership, then our wonderful colleague Kirsty Walker is in the session here today, and by all means send her a direct message. Now, this morning has been really popular, it's been really well received, and I'm delighted to introduce our speakers today, Mahmood and Penny Ford. And we're going to be looking at sales mastery, building those sales and business development skills, which as trainers and educators and coaches, sometimes we're not as strong on as we are delivering our own education directly. So Mahmood and Penny have founded their organisation a few years back, Brilliant Beyond Belief. They consult with a number of different individuals and organisations, from banks to healthcare and other industries. And it's been a real pleasure to have them as members of the CPD Standards Office. So with no further ado from me, I'd like to say a big thank you to Mahmood and Penny as you join us. We're really looking forward to an interactive session, and I'll hand over the mic to you for a good CPD session for our members here today. I'm going to turn my camera off and my audio off, so all of the attention is on you two. Everybody else, by all means, keep your cameras on. We would like you to stay on mute, preferably. But note that this webinar is going to be loaded up to YouTube. So you can be famous forever with your camera on, but if you prefer your camera off and a little bit more privacy, then that's absolutely fine, but keep that in mind. So Mahmood and Penny, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro. Really appreciate that. First of all, really nice to meet each and every one of you. Could I ask everyone to get their webcams on? If you can turn your webcams on, it'll be so good to be able to see you. So I've got you on the screen. It's so different when we can see you rather than it's knowing that you're here. So if you can turn your webcams on, that would be brilliant. And also just a little sound check. Can everyone hear me? Just raise your hands if you can hear me properly. Brilliant. So first of all, before we get started, could you type into the chat box one line about what is it that you do and what is the main thing that you'd like to get out of this session, just so I can quickly flick through that while you're typing that in, and so I can get a good idea of what you do and exactly what you'd like. So if I can give you like 30 seconds to do that, that'll be great. And in the meantime, I'll keep talking in the background. Financial trainer, more about Leeds, managing training development company in Riyadh, Saudi. Brilliant. Can't get the camera on, no worries at all. Thank you, Jen. Wow, from so many people from abroad, that's amazing. Help leaders avoid leaving the profession they love through burnout. Okay, brilliant. Second discussion training, I'd love to deliver leadership. Okay, wonderful. And the biggest thing that you'd want to take away from us today as well, helping national healthcare professionals who qualify in English. Wonderful. We'll translate. Brilliant. Okay, wonderful. So again, if you can get your webcams on, that would be absolutely brilliant. By the way, I haven't got any slides. I haven't it's not like we've got a slide deck and we're going to read it out to you, nothing like that. This is about you. I wanted to know what is it that you want and to be able to deliver that. The one thing I'll ask you to do is don't worry about taking any notes at all. I speak really fast, so I need you to listen fast. What I don't want you to do is write down lots of stuff as well. What we'll do is we'll send you a link after or during, Penny, if you can send that. And if you could just put your email address in there, I'll send you a copy of what we speak about, because I don't know yet what we're going to speak about. But once we know what we speak about, we'll get them in some notes and get them over to you, so you've got a copy of all of that. I've got an idea in my mind about the biggest things that I want to be able to give you, but I wanted to know exactly where you're from and the kind of things you want, and if there's anything else that we can add in. So again, please don't worry about writing notes. We'll get everything to you. So from time to time, I'm going to get you just to raise your hand so I know everyone can hear me. And so just kind of let's practice. Like, can everyone get their arms all the way up so I know you can hear me? Fantastic. Wonderful. So what I want to share with you today is I want to let you know about my journey, why I'm here, and why I'm here delivering this, and also the lessons that I can learn, or lessons I've learned, which I can share with you. So hopefully you don't have to make the millions of mistakes that we've had as well. So my name is Dr. Mahmood Mawjee. By profession, I'm a dentist. So I graduated from dental school in 2003. And I practiced dentistry for 14 years. I had a couple of practices. They were my practices. One was in Surrey, one was in Leighton Buzzard. And things were pretty good from the outside. Everyone looked at me and said, Mahmood, wow, things must be really good for you, family, car, house, all of that. You earn pretty well as a dentist. But in life, what I believe is there's an S curve. Okay, there's an S curve, and the top of the S curve. So if you think of an S, the bottom part of it is the initiation part where things are starting. Then there's the acceleration part, which is where things are growing. And the top is the plateau part. And all the goals that we set, everything that we want to do is normally based on that plateau part that we think the happiness is going to come from when we actually get there. And that plateau part is the size of your goals. So when I left dentistry, my goals were, I had big goals, but for then I thought they were big, but actually they weren't. I hit my goals quite early on. So by about year 7, I started getting that itch, knowing that kind of there's more to me than what I'm doing right now. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I started ignoring that voice. People around me saying, Mahmood, you know what? You're not meant to enjoy your job. It's a 9 to 5. You're earning a lot of money. You're earning 6 figures. You have family to look after. It's not about having fun. It's about just working. And, I listened to all the people around me. And the thing is that when you listen to everyone around you, a few things happen. And when you kind of push that voice away, that voice comes back even louder. So in 2016, my father passed away. And for me, that was a big critical moment in my life. By then, I was hating totally what I was doing. And I used to turn up to the practice sometimes, call my wife and say, I don't want to go in, little tear in my eye. I hated my life. And when my father passed away, when he died, he did everything he wanted to do. He had impact. He did everything he wanted to. Died with a smile on his face. And on that day, I said that I was going to find a way out. I was going to find a way to live a life of impact, to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. But I had no idea what that was like, because in my life, all I knew was I was a dentist. And sometimes, to bring you here, what it's about, all of you are here because you've got a business. There's something which you're passionate about. How many of you really, really love what you do? Raise your hands up really high. Yeah, wonderful, right? Okay, so I also believe that you are probably the greatest at what you do. Raise your hands if you are. You are absolutely brilliant at what you do, right? Brilliant. So there's a world out there who needs you, a world out there who really, really needs you. And to be able to get someone to buy from you, there's a big thing which we have to build up. It's called trust. And the quicker that we can establish trust, the quicker someone's going to buy into, because you've heard the saying, people buy into people. Okay, they don't buy into what you do. They don't buy into your product services. They buy into you as a person. So what is it that we could give you today to be able to build trust up in the best ways possible? You've heard the story of the woodcutter who wanted to go out there and cut more trees, and he cut trees and he cut trees. And every day he came in, there were less trees he was cutting down. And he went to his boss and said, look, I'm getting older for this stuff. Every day there's less and less trees I'm cutting. And the boss said, well, it's not because you're getting older. It's because you're not spending any time sharpening your axe. Every day you're out cutting. But when's the last time you took a bit of time, sat down and sharpened that axe? So what today's about, I believe, and I hope it is we can kind of pull you out of your normal life for about 45 minutes to an hour. We'll go on till about 10:45, and then, please feel free. Things come alive when there's questions, right? If you don't agree with something, please poke me, please ask. And if there's any way we can tailor this to you, you'll unmute, ask us, and then I'd love to be able to serve you even better. So at 10:45, we'll go with some Q&A. So I believe we're here to sharpen your axe. And when it comes to sales, I believe there's two parts of sales. There's the external part of sales and the internal part of sales. The external part of sales is what most people teach. So it's like the closing techniques, the objective handling, like all the objection handling, all that kind of good stuff, right? Which you need to know anyway. But I believe that's about 5% of sales. But then there's an internal part of sales. And the internal part of sales is how you turn up every day, how you behave, the confidence you have, the beliefs you have, what you think, how you behave, like everything about you. And that's the way that people build up trust in you. So what I want to talk about today is I don't want to talk about the external part of sales. We can go into that in Q&A if there's anything specific, but that's easy. You can go to a YouTube channel, you can pick up, like there's loads of things out there. What I want to be able to give to you is the internal part of sales today, and to really say how within 45 minutes, half an hour, you could possibly really change the way you're thinking, elevate your mind, put a different kind of programming in there. The way I look at it is if you look at your body, every 7-8 years, you've got a whole new body which forms. That's what science shows us. So you're like the 2025 version of you. If you think about it right now, you're the 2025 model. But the software up there sometimes is like 20, 30, 40 years old. And imagine if on Windows right now, you picked up Windows XP. Some of you remember Windows XP, right? And if you try to install some of the new software on there, it wouldn't work. It would crash, it would burn, it just wouldn't work. And so that's what our mind's like that as well. So it's like, there's a version of you out there which can earn 10 times what you're earning right now. There's a version of you out there which can impact 10 times people you are impacting right now. There's a version of you out there which could speak on a stage next to you in front of 10,000 people. There's a version of you out there. But it's like, it's fine for me to say it, but if the software doesn't appreciate it, and if it can't take it in, then we're never going to get there. And there is a version of you out there like that right now who can do things which you never, ever dreamed of doing. And today's about maybe seeing what programs can we put in there to be able to help you get there. So there's 3 things I really want to talk about today in the half an hour, 40 minutes we have when it comes to the internal part of sales. Number 1, it's the power of decision making, and I'll go through what I mean by that. Number 2, it's the certainty to know that where you want to get to, you can. Like imagine if you believed in your future as much as you believe in your past, then life begins to change all of a sudden. Like you believe in your past completely because you've gone through it. Imagine if you could believe in a future as powerfully as you believe in your past. We begin to win. And the third thing is a level of energy, that if you can bring a level of energy into life, which is unparalleled, level 10 energy all the time, right, you win. So there's 3 things I want to focus on. And, we can spend 20, 30, 40, 50 hours talking about this, right, which is what we do on some of the events that we have. But today we got half an hour. So I'm really going to wrap it up in that time. And then, we'll make it come alive in Q&A as well. So a bit more about my journey. So when my father passed away, I made a decision, and the decision was that I was going to go out there and start, living a life I've never led, doing something, getting outside of dentistry. And there's a part of our brain, and just raise your hands if you come across the RAS in the part of the brain. Yeah, perfect, right? So it's a part of your brain, bottom of your brain stem called the RAS. It's the reticular activating system. And what that part of the brain is, it's like the Google of your mind. So just type in the chat box, right? If you typed in red cars on Google, what's going to come up? Just type in the chat box. We make sure everyone's alive. What would come up? If we type red cars in on Google, what's going to come up? Red cars. Fantastic. Red cars, Ferraris. Yeah, red cars. Anyone else? Yeah, red cars. Brilliant. Okay. Fine. So what you'll get is you'll get loads of red cars coming on. And that's the way our mind works as well. And what I mean by that is there's millions of thoughts being fired at your mind every single second, and your mind can only take a few of them in. So what the RAS says that I'm going to allow certain thoughts to come in based on certain parameters. And there's 2 parameters it looks for. It says what you're thinking about in that moment, I will let more thoughts like that through. And number 2, the EQ, the emotional quotient of what you're thinking about, I'll let those thoughts through. So imagine you wake up in the morning and it's a Monday morning, it's gloomy outside, whatever it may be, and you said, you know what, today's going to be a really bad day. What happens is the RAS goes, oh, interesting, right? And now you said that, and you said it with so much like emotion because, oh, it's going to be a really bad day today. You can feel it. And so the RAS picks up and says, okay, I'm going to show you every single way where it's going to be a bad day. So you'll go out in your car, people are going to horn, and normally where you'd have that horn would have normally meant something else. Today it's like, oh, you're getting angry, you're picking up all the vibes about why it's going to be a bad day. And what happens is in the end of the day, you turn up home and you say, do you know what? It was a bad day today. Like I had a really bad day. And the reason is not because of luck, it's because you programmed it. Same as if you wake up in the morning and say, today's going to be a flipping awesome day, like absolutely brilliant. You're coming to meet Penny and me, it's going to be a new day. It takes one moment, one sentence, one opportunity to change the rest of your life. What if I pick that up? And now your RAS has triggered that, right? You wake up in the morning, today's going to be a great day. Now what happens is, at the end of the day, you've had a great day. But the reason is because that's what your RAS has filtered through. So the way your life is right now isn't by chance. It's because you've programmed it that way. So if we can, number one, understand that what we see, we will get, and what the mind says, your wish is my command, and it brings everything to you, then all of a sudden we can start thinking, okay, fine, now everything is down to me. What if I could think in a different way? So for me, the RAS got triggered that day, the day my dad died. And I remember seeing a big billboard. It was a quote by Gandhi. And what that quote said is, you will find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of other people. You may have heard that quote before. Great quote. And normally it wouldn't have meant anything to me, but on that day, it landed really well in the RAS, right? Really well. And so I was like, what does this actually mean for me? A few months before this, I lost one of the businesses I had, one of my dental practices. It was an NHS thing, and it cost me £500,000 to wind down. And so I went through a really tough time in my life before my father passed away, and I started running every day. The running helped me. My dad died. I used the running. That helped me get through my dad's death. And so I said, look, what if I could do something for other people? What if I could teach other people how to do something? And it's not about pocket, not about money, but it's about heart. What about if I could really help people with something? So I became a fitness trainer, started teaching people how to get fit. That was kind of the next part of my life. And the biggest, and for me, I heard a story at the same time, the story about King Arthur, great story. And what King Arthur basically said on that story is that what you really need to do is the thing you're avoiding doing. And if you look at your life right now, there's certain things which you really need to do, which you're not doing, but that's where the gold lies. So for me, since I was a kid, I had a stutter, couldn't speak, got bullied in school, started my first business to pay off my bullies because I didn't want to get beaten up. And pre-2016, I would never have spoken in a crowd before. So when I had this fitness class, I started giving them a pump talk every single week, and I practiced hours and hours the day before, getting the pump talk ready, and I gave them pump talk all the time. And what that did is I actually found something I really loved, started getting great at speaking. I recorded it, put it on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. People started inviting me on their stages. And then all of a sudden, I got on some amazing stages around the world. I spoke on stages with people like Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, people like Mel Gibson, people like Charlie Sheen, people like Harvey Specter from Suits, if anyone Suits fans here. Yeah. So met Harvey Specter on stage, spoke with him at a business event in LA. And all of a sudden, things started changing, started getting headhunted by some companies in the UK. And I started speaking for them. I became the shotgun and sell speaker. I got coached really well on how to sell. And then, in very little time, that's kind of how my career started taking me. I then started teaching business owners how to speak and sell. I used to hire a nice hotel in London, used to have 10 people on a weekend, charge £10,000 a seat, 10 people in a room on a weekend. And my promise to them was I would be able to make you into great, be able to make you into great speakers and great at selling. And these were business owners. So got them, most of them came from the US and Canada. So the business started growing that way. We hit a pretty good turnover, about 300 or 400 grand within 6 months. And then lockdown hit after, and then the business collapsed. And then we started the business that we have right now, where we help business owners to be able to speak, sell, and to be able to grow their business. And then about 18 months ago, we launched a corporate side of our business where we work with some really large firms in London. So we've contracted with like some big banks, hedge funds, private equity funds, companies like Salesforce, companies like, loads of companies out there where we train their sales teams and we help their teams grow. So that's kind of where our business is right now. But all of that came from that day when I decided that there was something bigger which had to happen. So the reason we come here before you today is I feel that there's a few things that I can give you. And if you can take these today, I promise you, and if you really use them, I promise you life's going to change. So the first one that I said was about decision making, right? So just raise your hands. I want to make sure everyone's with me so far. Yeah? Everyone with me so far? Fantastic. Wonderful. So again, if you can get your cameras on, it'll be great to see you. I know I speak fast. Thank you. I think someone messaged me. I know I want to give you as much as I can in the little time that I have. So please listen fast. It's going to be recorded anyway, so you can go back and hopefully slow it down a little and listen to it on there. So the first thing was, when I mentioned the S-curve, what you look at in your life is if you look at the best days of your life, the times which are the most fun, well, you'll realize the most fun times are when you're on the acceleration phase of the S-curve, when things were growing. Life was rich then. I don't mean rich money-wise. I mean rich heart-wise. You were learning, meeting new people, making new deals. The wisdom you were learning was great. And then all of a sudden, about 18 months after, you're kind of at your plateau phase, and it's like, what's next? How many of you have ever hit a goal and you thought you can't wait to hit it, and then you hit it, and it's like, is this it? What's next? Everyone around you goes, you should just be happy. You should be happy you've done it. How many of you have ever felt like that? Right? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, many of you. So one of the first things which I really started looking at is, what if we could set each and every one of us right now, a goal which is so massive, which right now seems impossible that you can hit. Now, what would that look like? And maybe for some of you, it's going to be a financial goal. For some of you, it'll be an impact goal. For some of you, it'll be a client goal. Don't know. But, a financial goal would be great. So imagine right now your business turning over 100,000. And I asked you, what would your goal for 2025 be? You said, what, if I got to 120, that'll be great. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's a 20% uplift. For most people, 20% would be great. But if you look at the theory of the S curve, what that means is only 20% of you will have to change, because not much of you has to change to get from 100 grand to 120 grand. Does that make sense? Yeah. Maybe just raise your hands. We're all the same wavelength here, right? Yeah. Maybe a few new clients, maybe you up your prices a little, but not much of you has to change. So what happens? Your S curve becomes small and life becomes quite boring. But if we know that the fun of all of this is the journey, the person that we become along the way, what if we could set a huge goal, one that we know right now seems impossible? Because impossible is a good word. Impossible means it's impossible unless something happens. So what if right now your business is turning over 100 grand and you said, you know what, within 12 months, I want to get to 250, I want to get to 500. And right now you'd be like, whoa, that's impossible. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But what that means is there's a version of you out there which can do it. Now, what we have to do is go out and build that version. Like, you type in the chat box. If you had to set this kind of wow goal, something which seems a bit impossible for you right now, but something that if you hit it, it will change your life, change your family's life, change everything. What would that be? Just put it in the chat box. Let's see what that looks like. What would that goal be? Yeah. For some of you, maybe financial. For some of you, it may be an impact goal. For some of you, maybe a number of client goals. Some of you maybe, totally getting out of the industry and doing something else. What would that look like? So let's get in the chat box. Let's get some things in there. What would that look like? As quick as you can in the chat box. Everyone, let's get some numbers. Brilliant. Land the top 5 bank insurance companies to buy a train. Brilliant. I love Erica. Margaret, move house. Who else? Who can I see here? Zuhair, Margaret, Lorraine. TJ's far away from the screen. Can you get something in there as well? Xenia, Eileen, Erica, Jude, Anna, Helen. Yeah. Enable enough to be able to give financially time-wise. So I love that. What else? Introduce trust in the age of AI. Brilliant. What else seems like pretty impossible right now, but it'll be a TED Talk speaker. Brilliant. What else would it be? Let's get some more things in there. Earn enough to do a day a week volunteering. I love that. Great. 40 new clients. Brilliant. Okay, so first of all, right? So the reason this goal is so important is the other things we're going to do are all based upon this. So if you haven't got something down, get it down. If you don't want to put in chat box, that's cool. But if you can, that'll be great, because there's a version of you out there which does get things into chat boxes, right? So put it out there. It'll probably inspire someone else. Put it down there. Something great, something which would really, really, really be wow for you. Okay. Now, the first thing that I want you to know is that most people will set a goal based on what they can hit. Because when you hit your goal, 3 things happen. You feel good, you feel right, and you feel great. And those 3 ingredients make up your self-esteem. And since we've been younger, we've been taught that, self-esteem is very important, but the way we get it is by feeling good, feeling right, feeling great. So what we do is we set goals knowing that we can hit them. So when we hit the goals, we feel good, right, and great. I want to be able to kind of change the way you think of it. I want to be able to propose an idea to you that what if the purpose of hitting the goal wasn't to hit the goal, but it's the person that we become along the way? Because if the richness in life is getting towards a goal, but the goal becomes boring, what if we could set a big enough goal, which we know we can't hit, but the greatness is the person we become along the way? So first of all, some of you have set 40 clients, 10 clients, TED Talk speaker, 20, okay, that's brilliant. Now there's a version of you out there which can do it. So what we need to look at is we know that right now seems pretty impossible, and that's okay. And that's what it's meant to be. When people set goals and when they hit it, they feel good. But I'm like, if you set a goal up here, you may get to here, you may not hit the goal, but you get further than the other goal that you set, and that's okay. So the idea of this goal you're setting, it's not to get the 20 new clients, it's not to get the 40 new clients, but say you got 32, say you got 27, it's going to be more than the 10 you said I want to get. So the idea is it's not to hit the goal, but it's the person that we become along the way. Now, that's first thing, okay? So we've set that in place, okay? So if you haven't done that, just get down somewhere, something which would mean so much to you. The second thing that we have to understand is that where you are right now in your life, and so if you look at your bank account right now, and if you woke up this morning saying, do you know what, bank account's not looking great, health ain't looking great, marriage ain't looking too great, like whatever that, it's not because of what you did this morning, it's because of what you did 6 months ago. And what shows up right now is a lagging indicator of what you did before. So the idea is if we can put the right steps into place now, 6 months from now, your life's going to be very different. So it's about what new person has to turn up from now. Your life right now is based upon the decisions which you've made up till now. So from there, what we know is that if we can make more powerful decisions, then all of a sudden the results we're going to get in life are going to be very different as well. Does everyone agree with me on that? Show of hands. Right. Raise your hands also if you sometimes feel you procrastinate a bit, maybe a lot, a bit. Okay. Oh, everyone got their hands up for that. That was a good one. Okay. So how many of you were given someone said, look, do something, or you had an idea, let me do this, and you didn't do it. And later on down the line, you turned around and said, you know what? I missed an opportunity. How many of you have ever felt that? Raise your hands. Have you ever missed an opportunity? Okay, many of you, right? Now, let me explain what that is. For example, back in 2017, I got introduced into the crypto world. And back then, I couldn't afford to put anything in. And then in 2020, when I got into the crypto world, I looked back and said, you know what? I missed an opportunity. I could have got it cheaper. But back then in 2017, it didn't look like opportunity. It actually looked like a 4-letter word beginning with R. What's that word? Type in the chat box. What was that word? A 4-letter word beginning with R. What was that word? 100% Debbie. Thank you, right? It was risk. Yeah. Lorraine, again, thank you. Right. It looked like risk. So at the moment in time, it looks like risk. But when we look downstream, it looks like opportunity. So what that means is our goals and our dreams, they're bigger than us, right? We're not meant to fit into them right now. How many of you have kids, by the way? How many of you got kids, right? How many of you have been kids before? Everyone should raise a hand for this one. Great, okay, fantastic. Okay, so when your kids were young, you never got them clothes which actually were perfectly fitted for them, right? You got them ones which were slightly bigger, and they said, Mom, Dad, why are my clothes too big for me? And what did you say to them? You said you're meant to grow into them, right? Yeah, makes sense. And that's what our goals and dreams are about. They're not meant to fit us right now, but we're meant to grow into them, just like those clothes, right? So the idea is if we know that our goals and dreams are meant to grow into, we need to be able to make decisions based on this new version of us, not from the old version of us. So the new version of you is the person who already has 10 clients, the person who already has 40 clients, the person who's already a TEDx speaker, the person who's already doing all of those things, right? The person who is earning enough to give their time to others, person who's already moved house, person who's already landed 5 banks. That's that version of you over there. So what we have to learn is to be able to make decisions based on that person over here, not on this person over here. Because this person over here makes decision based on you today. This person makes decision based on that person. It's like, has anyone here tried to lose weight? Show of hands, anyone ever tried to lose weight? Okay, perfect, right? So when you try and lose weight, what you do is you start making decisions based upon the person who's already lost weight, correct? So if you want to lose 10 kilograms, you look at the person who's lost 10 kilograms and you said, I'm going to eat like that person from now. I'm not going to wait until I lose the weight to eat like that person. I'm going to eat like that person from now. So what you do is you start making decisions based upon the person who already lost 10 kilograms. And in the end, you end up losing 10 kilograms yourself. That's how business is. What you need to do is you've set your goal, number one, what you said was really important to you, something which was a wow goal. We call it a North Star. North Star meaning that's your kind of guiding principle in life. Everything you do is going to be mapped against it. And now what you need to do is you need to look at what kind of person that is. So imagine you were that person already. How would they behave? How would they act? What time would they be waking up? What would they be eating? How many books would they be reading? You know what that kind of person would. So then you build up a character of that person. And now you got to start living like that person every single day. There's a quote in science which says it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting, right? And what that shows is that the person that you want to become, you've got to act like them from today. If you want to be able to sell, if you want to close another 40 clients, you've got to behave like you've already closed those 40 clients. You've got to turn up with that confidence that, if you close 40 clients, how would you stand? How would you speak? What would you wear? How would you greet your kids? Like, you'd be different, right? You'd have more confidence. You'd come home, you'd be a different type of person. Start acting like that person from now. There's so much science which is shown, and I can go through reams of science and studies which are shown that the way you're going to get to where you want to get to is by acting. When you have a chance, I'm going to give you a reference. Go to it at some point. There's something called the counterclockwise study. It was a study done just outside Harvard in 1979. It was done back in the day, right? And there's been so many other studies done to this day. And what they did is they got a group of men in their 70s and 80s, and in 1979, and they put them in a house, and they had one rule. That the rule is they had to act like they were 20 years younger. And in this house, what they did is they made the house like as if it was 20 years younger. They had pictures of Marilyn Monroe, pictures of the Cuban Missile Crisis, JFK, all that kind of stuff in the house. They didn't even have mirrors, no mirrors, but they put pictures of those men when they were 20 years younger on the walls. When they looked at it, they looked at themselves. They were in the house for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, what happened is that men who'd got in with walking sticks came out walking. Like their health had improved, their finger lengths had got longer. And you're like, well, how do finger lengths get longer? And the reason is because when they went in, some of the arthritis was like that. And all of a sudden now they were feeling like that. Why? Because only for 2 weeks, what they did is they acted like they were 10, 20 years younger. So for you to be able to get to where you want, what we need to be able to do is to be able to get you to act like you're that person already. So the first thing is, let's get you acting like you're that person, number one. Number two, let's allow you to start making decisions based on that new person, not on the old person. I'm going to give you a formula right now for making decisions, and you'll never have to procrastinate again. I'm not going to go through the science of how we came up with this IP because of time. We've got about 15 minutes, and there's quite a few things that I want to be able to give to you in that time. But I want to give you a formula for how to make decisions. And again, you're like, well, how is this going to help me in closing? It's going to help you like this. If you can master this, it's going to help you with everything to be able to increase your sales. When you can turn up like that person who's already closed those sales, that character, that confidence, that energy around you, people buy into that. And again, it's not about the objection handling. It's not about the sales script. It's not about that at all. That you need to have, like, that comes anywhere. You can find that anywhere. And yeah, we can give that to you as well. But the idea is to be able to get you shifting the way you think. That if you can think like, if you're a 6-figure person at the moment, if you can think like a 7-figure person, you'll start getting 7-figure results. If you can start acting like a 7-figure person, you'll definitely start getting those results. So now, number one, you know what your North Star is. Yep, makes sense. Everyone kind of thumbs up. You know what your North Star is, know where you're going. Number two, that we also know that there's a character of you, and you've started maybe drawing out that character, what that person looks like, how the time they wake up in the morning, the amount of books they read, what they do, like everything, the identity of that person. And you start living like that person every single day. Number two. Number three, that we start looking at the decision making that you do to be able to get you there. So most of us, we procrastinate in the decisions that we make. The reason is because we're making decisions based upon that person over here, but we want to get to over here. So everything for us seems like risk. If we can get you decision making from this person over here, all of a sudden things change. But your mind is going to try and keep you over here because it wants to keep you safe. So we can't rely on your normal self to make those decisions, because otherwise we'll make decisions based on emotion, not on logic. So we now need to start getting our brain trained from the prefrontal part of our brain to start making decisions from there, not from the back of our brain, which is the fear center, the amygdala, that part. We need to fire up the front part of our brain in decision making. So I'm going to go through with you a 2-step formula of decision making. And again, in Q&A, I can go through it in more detail if suppose you need to, how we came up with it and all that kind of stuff. So at the top, whenever you're making a decision, the first thing you've got to ask yourself is, will this decision help me get towards my North Star, my goal, my 40 clients, my 20 clients, my being a TEDx speaker, my landing the top 5 banks? Will it help me get there? And if the answer is no, then that decision should be, I'm not going to take that. That's done. Okay. You don't even think about it. If the answer is yes, it goes through to the next filter. And the next filter is, when you start speaking to some people who've done super well, the uber successful people, what you realize, the top CEOs, the way that their role is to make decisions. That's what they're paid for. The further up the rank you move, the more decisions you make, the more you get paid, right? So again, you want to get paid more, make bigger decisions, take on bigger problems, and you get paid more. So people at the top, they make decisions super quickly, big decisions. And what they say is they've got a series of questions they ask themselves. And so that it's not emotional anymore, it's logic. And if it's yes, they take the decision. And if it's not, they won't. So there was someone called Jimmy Goldsmith, and he was the first British-born billionaire that we have, or we had. He's passed away now, sadly. Really, really amazing person. In one of his interviews, he said, look, I asked myself one question, and he said, I get deals all the time, right? He said, my team bring me deals on the table, and my role is to say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's what I do. And I have one question I ask myself, and if the answer is yes, I take the deal. And if the answer is no, I don't take the deal. It's as simple as that, right? And I'm like, that would be interesting, isn't it, to know that question? Does anyone want to know that question? Show of your hands. Yeah, brilliant. So on the next webinar, which is, no, I'm joking, right? Okay. So his question was, he said, whenever I get any deal, I ask myself, what's the downside? Can I handle the down? What's the downside? Can I handle the downside? He said, if we can handle the downside, I take the decision. And if not, I don't. It's as simple as that, right? So again, I can go into the science behind this later and, a bit more, I can make it a bit more flowery and whatever. But for now, it's just like, this is what we use. Number one is, what's your North Star? Is it going to get me closer towards there? Number two, if the answer is yes, move on to number two. And number two is, can I handle the downside? And if you can't handle the downside of that decision, just don't take it. It's as simple as that. And if you can handle it, then take it. And the third thing is, has anyone heard of Ben Hunt Davis? Anyone heard of Ben Hunt Davis? Okay, so Ben Hunt Davis was the coach of the British rowing team. And in Sydney 2000, Britain won the gold after like 94 years. And the reason they did that is that Ben Hunt Davis knew the power of decision making. He said, if I can get my team to align around one decision, and every decision they make in their life during training is based upon one question, life for them is going to become pretty easy. And what it means that everyone's going to row in the same direction. We're all making the right decisions. So he told his team to ask themselves one question before they make any decision, whether they go for date night with their spouse, whether what they're going to eat, anything. And the question was that, will it make the boat go faster? Okay. So anything they did, they had to ask themselves, will it make the boat go faster? Will it make the boat go faster? Will it make the boat go faster? And if it made the boat go faster, then they took the decision. So it's like, it's 10 o'clock. Should I go out with my buddies or should I go to sleep? And it's like, well, will going to sleep make the boat go faster? Yes. Okay, go to sleep. I'm going to eat this food right now. Will it make the boat go faster? No, this is not. Okay, fine. I'm not going to. And so life became really simple all of a sudden because they had a series of one question they asked themselves. Obviously, Britain won the gold. And in the press conference after, he put everything down to this. And he said, you know what? It was about decision making. So your life is a culmination of the decisions that you make. Where you are right now is based upon the decisions you've taken. So what you need to do is to be able to make big decisions, which are from the new version of you, not from the old version of you. And you need to be able to make them quickly. So now you've got a formula. So number one, you've got North Star. Number two, you've got the identity of this person. And number three, what you've got is you've got a decision-making formula. That if I can make decisions based on this person, then all of a sudden, I'm going to get the right answers. Okay, so then use that decision-making tree. And again, the whole point of this is to be able to get you acting like you've already got to where you want to get to. You turn up to a sales call, to a sales meeting, feeling this way, feeling like you've already closed. Imagine the vibe that gives off. Imagine the confidence that you'll have. Like all of a sudden, your sales become a lot easier. The next thing which I said was about the certainty, that imagine you could actually know from now that you're going to get to where you want to get to with 100% certainty. Imagine what that would look like, right? So again, I'm going to go through this within about 3-4 minutes. There's two parts of our brain. There's the subconscious part of our mind and the conscious part of our mind. The conscious part of our mind is only 5% of our mind. So what that means is we only think about what we think about 5% of the time. And mostly everything else is in the subconscious part of our mind. Okay. So you don't have to just say this so I can see your lips. Finish this sentence for me. Okay. Play with me on this. Say as loud as you can. You don't have to unmute, but just so I can hear you. Finish this sentence off for me. Or type it in the chat box. Okay. Just type this in the chat box very quickly, as quick as you can. Money doesn't grow on. Just type in the chat box. What's the end of that? Money doesn't grow on. Trees. Brilliant. Wonderful. And money is the root of all. What's the end of that? Money is the root of all evil. Brilliant. Okay, wonderful. Now, we didn't send you an email to say we're going to be asking you that. So somehow you knew that. So what that means is in the subconscious part of our mind, which is the 95% of your mind, there's certain beliefs which are kept. And what these beliefs are, is these are beliefs which we've got in since we were younger. Now, you may have come home from school and mum and dad said, money doesn't grow on trees and this and that. And they said it over and over again. And what that means, it goes inside our mind. There's a science, there's 3 things which it takes to form a belief. Again, time-wise, don't have time to go into that right now, but, message us, ask us, and I'll go into that. But we've got a certain set of beliefs which are in our subconscious. Your subconscious works about 40 billion times faster than your conscious. So mostly everything's in your subconscious and you do that without thinking. So the fact that you have a belief which says money doesn't grow on trees means that each and every one of you are into sales. But imagine if there's a belief right now, a subconscious belief, which is 95% of your mind, where you believe money doesn't grow on trees. And then you believe that, okay, so money's hard to come by, but then the more that I earn, the worse my life will get, right? Imagine, how do you close? How do you sell like that? But imagine if you had a belief inside of you saying, do you know, money's easy to come by. And number two, the more money I have, the more happy I can be. Why? It means I can give more, serve more, do more, impact more, right? Like imagine if that's a core belief you had inside of you. Because right now you're going out there and you're selling and you've got these great sales scripts and all this kind of stuff, which is great. But 95% of you believes money is hard to come by. And 95% of you believes that the more money you get, the worse my life will be. And then there's 5% of you going out there trying to focus on getting more money, but there's 95% of you pulling you back. You're never going to, your conscious mind's never going to win. So the idea is to be able to really understand what's going on inside our subconscious mind and to be able to then look at that programming. Look, some of the beliefs you might have, how many of you have ever thought, I'm just pulling this up on my phone. I've got a list of beliefs here. I've got 547, but let me just give you 3 or 4 right now. How many of you, raise your hands, have ever thought that you're not good enough? How many of you have ever thought? Raise those hands up really high. By the way, let me ask you a question, right? Just raise your arms up, everyone. Okay, everyone raise your arms up. Everyone, right? Let me see everyone raising your arms up. TJ, come on, raise your arm up. Brilliant. Okay, and then raise them even higher. Raise them even higher. Yeah. Okay, so my question is, why didn't you raise them the highest the first time? Like, why the first time? See, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So I asked you to raise your hands and you did, and then I asked you high and you did. So why didn't you do it the highest the first time? So what that shows is there's always bits inside of us. I love that. Yeah, no one's ever said that, but I'm going to use that from now. Love that. Thank you, Erica. It's like how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you hold back on this, there's going to be other parts in your life where you hold back on, right? So anyway, raise your arms. How many of you have ever felt that you're not good enough? Raise your hands. Okay, it's hard to go. Brilliant. Okay, how many of you have ever felt that sometimes you don't feel like you're worth the amount of money that you want? You just don't feel you're worth it. Show of hands, raise your hands. Brilliant. Okay, how many of you have ever thought that you're not a good speaker? Raise your hands all the way down. Okay, how many of you sometimes have felt I'm not good at sales? Raise your arms up really high, right? How many of you sometimes felt I lack focus? Raise your hands. How many of you sometimes felt that you can't be a really, really good parent and have a super successful business at the same time? Raise your arm up really high. Fantastic, right? Okay. How many of you have ever thought that, what if I market myself as social media, for example, and people laugh at me? What am I going to do? Show of hands. How many of you felt like that? Okay, 3 of you. And just 1 or 2 more. How many of you felt that, let me find a couple good here. That I don't have the money to market myself? How many of you have ever felt that? Raise your arms up really high. Okay, brilliant. And 1 more. How many of you felt that there are too many competitors out there in what I'm doing? Raise your arms. Okay, brilliant, right? So all of these out there, right? It's all BS, right? And type in the chat box, what does BS mean? Just quickly put in the chat box. What does BS mean? Anyone? What does BS mean? Type in the chat box. What does BS mean? Let's get some. So all of the, yeah, brilliant. Oh, TJ, you got it. Brilliant. It's belief systems. Yes. Well done, everyone. Okay. So that's exactly what it is, right? All of these things are belief systems. And, you know, one of the most important things is to be able to figure out what's going on inside your subconscious mind and then allow it and then allow it to be able to come in your conscious mind so that we can change it and then put it in the conscious part of your mind so that we can start having some actual, so imagine if your beliefs were things like, you know, money is easy to come by, the more I make, the happier I'll be, and all things like that, right? So again, it's the internal part of yourselves. It's actually who you turn up with, what you believe. The last thing within 3 minutes, and I feel this would be pretty good. How many of you feel that if you had a tool to be able to change your emotional state at any given time, that would really help you? Show of hands, raise your hands. Anyone? Okay, yeah, everyone, right? So the way you feel is going to dictate the decisions you make. So if you're feeling low energy, the decisions you make are going to be pretty low energy. If you turn up to life feeling high energy, you're going to make high energy level decisions. And the idea is that sometimes, you know, well, a lot of the time we're going to get beat up, right? Failure happens. It's tough. It's going to get hard. Doors are going to close on us and it pushes us back. Humans don't like rejection. It makes us feel low and low and low. And things happen in our life as well. So what if we could have a tool to be able to make sure that anytime when we're feeling low, within a couple of seconds, within a few seconds, we could actually empower ourselves again to feel top of the world. So we can turn up with energy level 10. Has anyone heard of Amy Cuddy? Anyone heard of Amy Cuddy? Yeah. So most watch TED Talk, or most listen to TED Talk on YouTube at the moment. TED and Amy Cuddy, professor at Harvard, she did a study on superheroes, and she looked at all superheroes have a power pose. Love it, right? Yeah, the power pose part. And what that power pose is when you look at Spider-Man, Superman, Superwoman, anyone like that, they have a pose they have, and that confidence pose, what happens is when you actually use that for 2 minutes, three things happen. Number one, your level of testosterone goes up, so your fight and flight hormone, so you're ready for action. Number two, your stress hormone cortisol, which normally floods your body when you're worried about something, that goes down. So it goes down by over 20%. And when you combine those two hormones together, the ability to make powerful decisions becomes a lot easier. So normally where you look at decisions as risk, now you see them as opportunity if your testosterone goes up and cortisol goes down at the same time. So Amy Cuddy looked at this and she said, if you can stand in a power pose like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, whoever does for 2 minutes. And so we did some research on this and we looked at, I feel 2 minutes is a long time in most situations. And so what we need to do is we needed to make a way that you can get the same results in a much shorter amount of time. So we come up with something called a power move, which was different from the power pose. And what the power move allows us to do, and we've tested this on thousands, tens of thousands of people, and the way people feel at the end of this is the same as if you felt at the end of actually doing a power pose, right? And we can do this within 20 seconds. But it means getting you out of your comfort zone. And it means doing some, doing a bit of weird stuff. This is, we're here to be able to help you smash yourselves, right? Smash your life. So in a moment, I'm going to show you what the power pose, or what a power move is. So I've got a power move, and what this is, and now that you've thought, now I've told you about this, what will happen is when you have a look on, when you have a look at any super sports stars, you'll see that they've all got a move that they do before they get into action. And what that does is it tells their mind that I'm here, like I'm taking over right now. No crap, like I'm taking over. This is me. I've turned up to life. And so if you look at the All Blacks, right, one of the best rugby teams we've ever had, they've got the haka. You look at Ronaldo, he does a spin header before he starts a match. You look at Tiger Woods, he's got his little power move over there. And you've got so many sports stars which do a power move before they start the match or before they take a penalty. At that moment when they need to tell their mind that I'm taking over right now. So what we're going to do is, it'll be cool. This is the last thing we're going to do, and then we'll open up for Q&A. We're going to practice a power move, right? So what I'd love everyone to do is I'd love everyone to, in a moment, to unmute. Yeah. Now, don't turn your screens off. Please don't turn your screens off. Just do this, right? 20 seconds and then it's over. But if you don't do something, if you don't try, you never know how it's going to feel at the end of it. So you could be that person to say, no, I'm not going to do this. Or you could be that person to say, do you know what? I'm going to do it because I have no idea where it's going to go, but it could be great. It's worked for us so well. We've trained everyone who we work with to do this. Companies in London, around the world, hedge funds, companies in the morning, they do this to rev up their teams before they start. So if it works for them and the billion-dollar companies, I'm pretty sure it's going to work for you as well, right? So is everyone cool to give this a go? Raise your hands. Everyone raise your hands. Even if you're not willing to do it, just raise your hands and do it anyway, right? Brilliant. So I'm going to get you in a moment to stand up, and I've got a power move where I kind of hit my chest and I go, yes, yes, yes. Do you know what? You can actually do this while you're sitting down. It's fine. It's like, yes, yes, yes. And you do this, like we do it 20 times. But what it's shown and what we can promise you is that the feeling you get after this, number one, it'll feel weird, right? So you're doing it for the first time. But if you do this over and over again, it'll give you the same effect as if you did what Amy Cuddy said for 2 minutes. If anything, like whenever you need to raise your state at any given time, imagine you're going into a sales meeting, right? And you need to close, like 100% need to close. That's why you're here. Imagine going into there with that level of energy, right? And so we'll try it 20 seconds, right? So can everyone unmute for a moment? Can everyone just unmute? Everyone unmute? Everyone, yeah, just unmute. Brilliant. And what I want you to do is just try this 20. We'll do 20 of these and then we'll cut. Okay. Don't normally do this on Zoom, but I feel that we've built up a pretty good relationship over the last half an hour, which allows us to do this, right? And you're here because you want to be able to do more. So let's give it a try. Okay. So on the count of 3, we'll do like 20 of these kind of yes, 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 yes. I'll count down. So I'll make sure we only do 20. Then we'll cut, we'll round off, and then we'll go to Q. Everyone good with that? Yes. Let's get yes. We're good with that? Yes. Okay. Let's go.
Yes.
On the count of 3, let's go. Okay, 20 of these. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant. Give yourselves a clap, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Give yourselves a clap.
Yes.
Brilliant. So, look, I know we've kind of had a whirlwind half an hour. I've run through much. It would be absolutely amazing, if we had longer. But I feel that you've got enough right now where you can go out and, number one, you can set a goal which is much, 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 much bigger than you, something you never dreamed of before, something which possibly seems impossible right now. Number two, to devise that character of what that person would look like who'd already hit it and start living like that person right now, based upon a lot of science that we have at the moment. Number three, to understand that to be able to become that person, it's about the decisions that you make every single day. So then to be able to have this decision-making formula and to be able to use that all the time. Number four, to then understand that there's parts of our mind which will keep us where they are. So to look at some of the beliefs that we've got, to be able to reprogram them, which we can, to be able to get you firing in a different way, to understand that, my mind will always keep me here. And every time when I have a thought like this, which takes me away from where I want to get to, I kind of snap into it and tell myself, do you know what, this isn't the way I should be thinking. And number five, to be able to have an unparalleled level of energy all the time. If you can put those things together, my promise to you is the internal part of you, in the internal part of cells is like 95% of cells, you'll win. And then all of a sudden, the objection handling scripts you have, the closing, all that kind of stuff you have will become so much easier because you turn up to life in a much more confident way every single day. And remember, right, what we said is people buy people before they buy into anything. They buy you and they buy your trust. They want to be able to get to trust you very quickly. And if you can turn out, and you know what, maybe in Q&A, there'll be a couple of things we can talk about how to get trust even quicker. But the quicker we can get that, and when people want to be around confident people, people want to know that you're the person who can deliver on what you say. So if you can put those things together, you can turn up like that person every day, I promise you that, life becomes different. We'll put that link in again. We'll send you the notes based on this again, because obviously there's a lot and we'll try and break things down a bit more. So you've got more you can take away. And we've got a newsletter which comes out. So we'll, send you that as well. If there's anything which you'd like to speak about, so how we can help you personally, whatever, please reach out. We've got the social contacts on there as well. Reach out. We'd love to have a chat with you. But I hope it's been super useful. But now, whatever questions you have, and if it runs on a few more minutes, hopefully that'll be okay. But I'll leave that to you. And then you could, just feel free and we'll ask some questions. Do you want to take over? Are you there? Kirsty?
Mahmood.
Oh, brilliant. There you are.
Mahmood, I'm here. Just what an amazing, interactive, useful session for everybody. Thank you so much. Well, I've just got so much to take away from it, and what a set of insights and invaluable advice. We are running quite close to time. It's 5 to 11, and we normally stop at 11 on the dot. But if we run now for another 10 minutes, everybody is more than welcome to stay on. And for those of you that need to jump off, a recording will be circulated if you just want to catch up on the last little section now. So I'm just going to ask a few questions out of the chat, Mahmood, anything that's coming in. There's been a few just comments about how great it was, and thank you so much for for being with us today. I've got a question, and sometimes I sort of ask this from some of our webinar speakers. If you had one book or one podcast or one resource to recommend in this field, what would it be?
Great question. Thank you for that. One book which literally changed how a whole business ran is a book called 10x is easier than 2x. It's a book by Dan Sullivan. After that, our goal of the company, so we had a turnover in the company of about 3M, and the corporate side of our whole business got really one of the things was by reading that book. So then, our goal is to hit 100M by 2030. And when anyone talks out there about business performance, they talk about us. But some of the fundamentals came from there. It was a book I read which really, really changed my thinking a lot. And so if there's anyone who's looking for a book, go to that 10x is easier than 2x.
And what was that? Sorry, 10x by?
10x is easier than 2x. It's an author called Dan Sullivan. Really good.
Yes, I know Dan Sullivan. Fantastic digital marketing.
Fantastic book. Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you. And another one,
Yeah.
But the personal side of you would be Atomic Habits. Really like that. It's a lot about, yeah, many of you read that already, right? Yeah, great. Yeah, 2 great books to start with.
Okay, wonderful. And is there any, I don't know, like podcasts or anywhere else online that you tend to get your information and inspiration?
You know, inspiration is, I feel that in the morning when you wake up, it's
Yeah,
like, but we're all entrepreneurs, right? It's like a war zone going in on our head. And it's like, if you can spend the first half an hour, listen to some great stuff and get yourself motivated for life, it literally changes your day. And a lot of
yeah,
the time in the mornings, I go to YouTube and I type motivation in. And now
yeah,
obviously it's picked up my algo. So it brings me things. And it's that to remind me every single day that it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. That, you know, if it was
yeah,
easy, everyone could do it. To be able to help me to focus the team on exactly where we want to go. So that's one of the recommendations I can give, that in the morning, just make sure that you're listening to things which are really, really, really going to,
yeah. I totally support that, Mahmood. We've had all sorts of sort of motivational speakers and individuals sort of in that sphere working with us at times in our community over the last 12 years. And
there's a lot of content we put out as well, so please feel free to follow. And you know, we try and put out about 10, 15, 20 pieces a day. So hopefully there'll be a lot there. Which
yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think if there's one thing that is going to change your day, it's your mindset, right? It's how the window that you're looking in through the world.
100%.
And if you're in the car or you're on the train or you've got anywhere where you're going to have a bit of dead time, although it sounds cheesy, the more you can listen to personal, motivational speaking or podcasts, etc., the higher your mood is, the higher the positivity, and the better sort of bubble I think that you have around you to face the day and face your challenges really positively and proactively.
100%. 100%. I agree with that.
Okay. Well, we've just had a whole round of thank yous. And Charles says, jiggling up and down on your toes for 90 seconds, arms and hands nicely relaxed by your side, wonder move. So I think we're all going to take that one back with us.
Does anyone have any questions? And then maybe we can unmute if there's anything anyone wants to ask live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything that want to ask? Any hands up? Anyone at all? I'm just looking here right now. Is that someone with a hand up? No. Okay, cool.
Well, we've got your email address here on the screen, Mahmood, if there are any additional questions or anybody would like to ask you anything directly.
Perfect. And then we've put that link in there as well. So we'll get the notes over to you.
Yeah.
Penny's put that in, then put that in as well. Just over there. Yeah, thank you. And then if there's anything, well, we'll get a summary of the notes, then we can get that too as well.
Okay, great. Okay, and just one other item that I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to. We are running our British Certified Trainer course in the first week of April. This has been a hugely successful course that we've just started here at the CPD Standards Office for everybody who delivers either on a face-to-face basis or on an online basis. So British Certified Trainer is something that we've put together following demand and interest from many of our trainers and coaches and educators about sort of setting yourself out and giving you sort of the best skill set possible. So keep an eye out for the information on that, and the sign-up information will be circulating that shortly. So I just wanted to say thank you again to Mahmood and Penny. Wonderful insights today, really appreciated. The notes are there. We'll circulate the links, we'll circulate the recording, and we'll circulate all of the contact details. So thank you ever so much. We look forward to seeing you all again at the end of next month. Happy Monday. Think positively, use your personal motivational habit to think past the rain and the clouds today, and have a wonderful week, everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.